Hello again, fellow BeachBum traders. Thank you for joining us for part 2 of our weekly trading game plan for the trading week of January 30th through February 3rd, where we'll talk about our top swing trading stocks to watch, which individual stocks, ETFs, etc. do we have on our watch list in our bullpen. We'll talk about our shopping list and how to set up our shopping list, and we'll also talk about additional trade ideas, strategies, and also our options trading strategy as well. So stick around to the end of the video, the end of the stream, and we'll get started talking about our top swing trading stocks to watch for this week of January 30th through February 3rd. Welcome, Douglas PC. Thank you for joining us in the live chat. Glad to see you. Hope you're doing well. Tony Rosas, good morning. Thank you for joining us as well. So here's our Google document for part 2 of our weekly trading game plan for this week, January 30th through February 3rd. These Google documents contain our notes, references, etc., to bonus videos, tools, etc., for our weekly trading game plans. You should be able to find a publicly accessible link in the description box below. We keep all of our notes for our weekly trading game plans in a publicly accessible Google Drive folder, so you can refer back to them, and you should be able to find a link to that Google Drive folder in the description box below as well. If you have not already seen part 1 of our weekly trading game plan for this week, titled What is the Fed's Next Move Now?, we would highly recommend you also view part 1, as that contains all of our market analysis, our strategies, trade ideas, etc., providing us input into selecting our top swing trades to watch for this week in part 2. So again, if you haven't already seen part 1, we'd highly recommend you go back and view that as well. Welcome, Flip of the Ship, Ricky Khan. Glad to see you all in the live chat. Hope everyone's doing well. So first, we'll review some updates on some trades that we made last week. We talked about yesterday opportunities we saw in the semiconductor space, the way they were pushing tech up. We've talked about this for a couple of weeks. It was kind of interesting, and I'll show you in the charts how semiconductors diverged a little bit from the tech push up, and then followed the rest of the tech push up late on Friday. So we took a couple shots at getting into SOXS, which is the short on semiconductors. We first tried on, so I guess that was Thursday, the 26th. We got in at 23.74. I think that was a 4 a.m. gap down, and I got in there, and then we got stopped out later in that day at just below our entry price, and I'll show you where that dipped back down, and then we got back in cheaper. So on Friday at 23.09. So again, kind of our strategy, we'll get in. If it pushes up and rolls over, then we'll get out and we'll get in cheaper. And now we're again long SOXS, which is again the short on semiconductors. Again, we talked about our thesis in semiconductors. You've heard the guidance from Micron, etc. Intel's having issues. So there's some negative catalysts that we're playing on, and they tend to push SOXS up, tend to push semiconductors as well as biotechs, and we'll talk about biotechs as well, along with the whole tech sector. And they, again, I think there's differences in those sectors that will provide us some opportunities in both the semiconductor and the biotech area. So we'll jump over to Webull, and we'll look at those specific trades in a second. But just a reminder, if you would like to get alerts when we enter or exit or get stopped out of a trade, you can join our Patreon, any level of our Patreon. We post email notifications as soon as possible to our Patreon members, and then also in some alerts channels in our Discord that our Patreon members have access to. And I'll show you those channels in our Discord. So again, we can see a couple. I also have Thinkorswim price alerts that get automatically triggered and then posted in this Thinkorswim alerts channel. So you can see here's the SOX price alerts that we got from Thinkorswim. We followed that up with initially a long on the 26th, then we got stopped out on the 26th as well. So I posted that follow-up in the Trade Alerts channel, which our Patreons also have access to. And if we take a position that's not based on a Thinkorswim trade alert, then we'll post it in that channel. And then also you see the follow-up on the 27th where we went long on SOX again on the 27th. So again, I don't recommend that anyone blindly follow us or anyone else into trades. However, if it would be of benefit to you to see when we enter and exit trades, you can join our Patreon and get access to those notifications as soon as possible. So let me jump over to Webull and we'll take a look at this SOX trade. So as you can see, initially on the 26th, and this is one of the benefits of Webull, and this is one of the reasons I tend to do most of my trading in Webull. As you see, we got this gap down right at 4 a.m. So that's another reason I tend to try to be up at before or at 4 a.m. to take advantage of some of these gap up, gap downs, rebalancing on ETFs. And we got that gap down, triggered my initial buy into SOX. You see it rode up, it was up. It didn't quite break that pivot point, and then it rolled over, and we got stopped out again at 23.74. So very small penny loss on that trade. And then on Friday, again, you can see it gapped up initially at 4 a.m. and then was just trailing down the rest of the day. When I left the desk, I just put an order in at the previous low, which I think was 23.08. That got triggered late in the day. So now you can see after hours, SOX has gone back up. Again, this was there was an interesting divergence initially. You know, there was the bad Intel news, etc. So we got that gap up in SOX after Intel's earnings, and then it wasn't following tech. They were pushing tech up initially, but SOX semiconductors were going down, and then later in the day as they pushed tech up, SOX went with it, and so they pushed semiconductors up as well. Again, I think there's a lot of catalysts with the Intel issues, the poor guidance, people aren't buying PCs, etc. So I think the short on semiconductors, I like that position. But again, we'll continue to play it. If they push it up and stop us out again, we'll buy it back lower, and we'll keep doing this until we finally get a swing back up in SOX. So now we'll jump over to our watch list updates for the week. Again, this is our real-time watch list. These are the stocks, individual ETFs that we have on our watch list. We're watching in real time. We have some automation that tracks these and alerts me as they move up, move down, etc. If they get close to my target price, then I get alerted as well. So one we're going to add to this watch list this week is FANGD, which is the short on the FANG stock. So the FANGs traditionally, as defined, was Facebook, Netflix, Alphabet or Amazon, and Google, which is now Amazon. So I guess they added another A at some point. And there's also some others in that ETF, but essentially it's your mega cap tech stocks. And again, several of them have earnings coming up, I think on February 2nd. I'd have to go back and see who all, if it's Apple, Microsoft. Microsoft issued poor guidance. So again, that's another part of my thesis behind going short on the FANGs is the cloud computing. They're talking about a slowdown in further growth in the cloud area. So again, that's going to impact Microsoft, Amazon, and Google. So again, that's part of my thesis behind wanting to go short on the FANGs. Also, I think we saw this rotation back into the things that used to work. The mega cap techs, everybody was in those. Those ran in the past, and I think people rotated back into those as part of the kind of flight to safety. They see those as safe, but again, I think we're going to see a slowdown in those, and I think they're going to issue poor guidance, and I think there's an opportunity here. So again, I'll show you the chart. It pretty much kept trailing off all day on Friday. I wanted to get in, but it didn't stabilize at a bottom. So we'll see what that does this week, particularly with interest rate hikes we talked about yesterday. We're going to get a hike. It's just a matter of if it's going to be the 25 basis point that everyone expects, or is it going to be nothing, or is it going to be 50? No matter what, increasing interest rates are bad for the tech stocks in general. Flippa said he wanted to get puts on Micron. Again, that's part of the same thesis, right? Although that's specifically when you're betting just on Micron. You could, you can get, you can go long SOX, you can get puts on SOX L, which is the long on semiconductors, or you can, again, just play SOX S, which is leverage short. Another one we're going to add to our watch list this week is LUMN. It's Lumen Technologies. It's a communication services company. They appeared to have been profitable in the past. We saw a rotation into communication services. This one looks like it might be attractive, and we'll look at the chart in a second. Yesterday we talked about, we looked at the futures in Palladium, how Palladium had dumped at the end of the week, and we've been watching this Palladium using the ETF PALL. It's now approaching the support level that I like, so we moved it up from our bullpen into our primary watch list on after market close on the 27th. Again, we're already long on SOX S. If you're not already, you can continue to watch it, but again, we already have a position in SOX S. Douglas PC is asking, what's the next big news catalyst? Well, in reality, it's the interest rate hike, right? Other than that, we don't have, we've got some OPEC announcement. We talked about all this yesterday in terms of, market analysis strategy. We've got the OPEC. Otherwise, there's nothing predictable. We've got the war issues that, that's, again, not predictable. So, we could always get an unpredictable news event that would jolt markets. Otherwise, again, it's the interest rate hikes on Wednesday that's going to provide the significant volatility in earnings. We've got a huge earnings season, and anyone coming out with unexpectedly bad or unexpectedly good earnings is going to also propel those sectors in one direction or another. Welcome, Walter Lyons, Ollie in the Bay. Glad to see you all. Thank you for joining us as well. Also, if you'd like to get intra-week and even intraday changes to our watch list, if I make any changes during the day, pre-market, after-market, etc., I post that to a watch list channel in our Patreon or in our Discord, to which our Patreons have access to. Our Patreons also have access to an daily automatically updated web page, which has price targets. It also has, we added recently, dividend information for dividend payers, etc. Whether the stock is optionable or not is also updated on this web page. So again, you can get access to that by joining our Patreon at any level. And again, then you can get intra-week and even intraday updates to our watch list. So you can see the other day on the 25th, I added LUMN to our watch list pre-market. Shows the price targets, etc. So again, if you'd like to get more frequent updates to our watch list, you can join our Patreon. So let me grab a drink, and then we'll jump over to Webull and look at the stocks for those individual stocks and ETFs on our primary watch list. Just a quick reminder, Webull's still offering their 12 free stock offer. So again, let me grab a drink and we'll continue. Okay, and again, Weeble's their primary trading platform. I mentioned why we like the 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. trading hours. You can see potential opportunities with these gap up, gap downs at 4 a.m. So again, we prefer Weeble. We recommend Weeble, and you can get free stocks if you're not already using Weeble. So here's our primary watch list. Guess I didn't mention FAZ. FAZ is the short on the financial industry. We have that also on our watch list. And I have a buy sitting out there at, I think, 1578 right now. I thought that might hit on Friday. It didn't quite hit. You can see, again, they're pushing with the exuberant reaction we got on Thursday, Friday. They were pushing a lot of the sectors up, including the financial sector. I think, the financial sector has had a significant run, and I'm just looking for that top. Now, again, with a lot of these leveraged ETFs, it's good to watch the inverse. These are the shorts. The long for financials is FAS. So I'm looking for a top and a turn down in FAS to indicate the bottom and turn up in FAZ. So again, I'm looking to go long FAZ, which is short on the financial industry. You can see it's just trailing down as they pushed all the sectors up. Again, FANGD. Again, they just pushed them down Thursday, Friday. They were just running tech, so it just kept descending. We saw a little bit of a pop after hours, but I'd like to see how it rebalances on Monday morning before I figure out if this 31.35 is a true bottom or not. And again, to look for the top in FANGD, the inverse is FANGU, which is the long on the FANGs. LabD, we talked about biotechs. Again, I think they just ran biotechs as well with all the other tech stocks. So it was a little bit more volatile. There was some divergence with tech. So we saw, short biotechs went down on Thursday and then started running again with tech. So again, I believe I have an order sitting out at 1341 or so. And I thought that might have hit on Friday, late Friday, while I was away, and it didn't quite trigger. So I still have those orders sitting out there. If it triggers on the rebalancing Monday morning, I'm happy with that because, again, most biotechs are cash burning. They don't make any money with high interest rates, etc. They're your return on capital is not very positive, and it's kind of a crapshoot with any biotechs. So high risk, high reward, but high risk. So I think there's a good opportunity shorting biotechs with LabD. Again, the inverse on LabD is LabU, so I'm looking for the top in LabU to indicate the bottom in LabD. Walter Lyon says he's been enjoying rinse and repeat on LabD. Again, you could trade any of these shorter term. There's opportunities on almost a daily basis going one way or the other. Again, plenty of opportunities to make money trading. And that's, again, our primary message on our channel is no matter what kind of market, bull market, bear market, choppy, range-bound market, there's plenty of opportunities every day to make money. Is pick the one that fits your personality, your style, your time frame best, and make your money in that way. So here's Palladium, PALL. Again, it had been run up a little bit. It's come back down. We like it around 143 to get us a good 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio. So you can see it's dipped back down after it had run up for a little while. Again, I'd like it to come down to get us that 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio long term. This would be a very long term swing. It's not optionable, so I can't really sell covered calls against it. So this would be, again, a long term swing position on Palladium. So that's what we've got on our real-time watch list for this week. Right now, so far, we have a very short bullpen. As you'll see, okay, if you're new to our community, our BeachBum trading community, the concept of the bullpen is ones that may present a more attractive setup in the near future. I don't watch them real time, but I revisit these at the end of each day, see if the setup's improved. If it has, we'll put them in the game, move them up to our primary watch list. If they've run away or broken down, then we'll take them out of the bullpen, and they'll pop up on my queries that I also run at the end of the day if they again present an attractive setup at sometime in the future. Welcome, Easy Mike. Glad to see you. Thank you for joining us today. Easy Mike says MP has an upgrade. Yeah, we were watching. I like MP. We were watching MP. I'd like MP a little cheaper, below 30. And if it pops on the upgrade, it'll probably run away. But we were watching MP, trying to get in cheaper. So again, we're going to take this BOSC, Better Online Solutions, off. A lot of these tech stocks have run up with the push in tech. They may come back down if we get a correction, a reversal in tech, particularly with the interest rate hike. But for now, I'm not going to chase these guys. So BOSC, we're going to take off. Again, we moved PALL up to the primary watch list. SENS is also ran up. Even though it's a healthcare, it's a diagnostic type to kind of a technology, it ran up as well, so we're going to take it off. And TRT is a semiconductor, and it actually ran up, even though, well, again, with all the tech, so they pretty much ran all the semiconductors up. And I'm not going to chase an individual semiconductor. Still going to leave UROY. I know they've been running uranium up a bit. So we've got UROY in our bullpen. It appears to be the most attractive potential uranium. So if we do see a sector rotation back out of uranium, there may be an opportunity in UROY. Some of the others we like is DNN, LEU, but again, they're much higher, farther away from our price target. So welcome, Alan Krantz. Thank you for joining us. Glad to see you as well. So again, all I've got right now in the bullpen is UROY. We could see I'd really like it around, 210-ish, but it's got another support level in the low, 220s. It's got nice, upside up into the low 3s, and then, longer term, much higher in the 4s. So I'd like it to come down at least to that, low 220 area or so. Again, we'll see. It's been hugging this pivot point for a little while. We'll see if it runs away or breaks back down and gives us an opportunity to enter sometime soon. Okay, so we'll talk about our ETFs. We'll look at our ETF spreadsheet. I wanted to mention a couple further enhancements that I've made to our ETF spreadsheet. Again, this gives us a way to look at and track all these, ETFs in relatively real time. It's not quite real time. It's got a potential about 20-minute delay with the Google Finance functions, but it gives us a nice trends. Identify opportunities in various indices, sectors, commodities, etc. So if there's any particular, I see people talking about oil, we can look at natural gas and where that is. I saw Easy Mike mention that the March contracts are saying 319 spot, which is higher than what it was currently trading on Friday. It's been declining. We looked at it yesterday. Looked like, might be a potential bottoming formation. But again, the sentiment's been very, very negative, been downtrending and divergent from the actual data. So again, we'll look at our ETF spreadsheet. Just a quick reminder that our all access Patreons and our VIP Patreons have access to this 24/7, anytime. You can use it to track ETFs, identify opportunities. And again, recently we added highlights on symbols if all 4 of the risk reward columns are greater than 2, to help us more easily identify the ETFs that we potentially want to watch, the type of opportunities that we're looking for. So I'll jump over. So if you have other categories that you want to take a look at, throw them up in the chat, and I'll try to focus on those particular categories as well as the ones that we're watching. I'll zoom it in a little bit more. And we can scroll if need be. Hopefully that's visible. So you can see the highlighting if all 4 of the risk reward categories are greater than 2. So we've got the current risk reward, the support to resistance, 52-week and bottom to top. So you can see defense is showing relatively positive, although it's quite a bit away from the 52-week low. So here's another question for our BeachBum trading community, something I was thinking about. I guess I didn't write that down there. I was playing around with whether or not to put a threshold on the highlighting if it's some kind of X% above its support level. Maybe I want to turn that off if it's, more than 10% away from the support level or something. So I'd be interested in your input in those regards. You can let us know in the comments, and it's free to join our Discord, so you can comment in our free Discord. You can find an invite in the description box below. So I'd like to know your feedback if that would be more helpful to put a threshold if a stock is a certain distance away from the current support level. ARK-K we're going to talk about when we get to options. I am looking at selling cash secured puts on ARK-K. Talked about LabD. You can see the inverse of LabD is LabU. So you can see where the 52-week high, etc., where LabU currently sits. MJ is cannabis, and there was some negative news. One of the companies is pulling out of several states, so I want to see if that's truly a bottom in MJ or MSOS. We talked about opportunities all the time in the China tech stocks. You can trade, day trade. Yang is the short on China tech stocks. Yen is the long on China tech stocks. You can also play CWeb and KWeb. Again, day trading opportunities on any given day in a number of these areas. I don't like consumer discretionary right now. Keeping an eye on that. We watched the BDRY for dry bulk carriers in the past, but I'd like it around that, at least at the 52-week low. Don't like emerging markets terribly right now. So here's FANG-D and FANG-U. You can see it's not quite over 2 for the support to resistance, but it's very close. So, and I think, again, with the earnings and the guidance, I think there's an opportunity there. So here's FAZ. Again, short-term trading, gold, silver, we talked about yesterday. Any of the indices, if you want to, trade the whole NASDAQ short, SQQQ is showing attractive. It's a little bit higher from support than I would like offhand. So we talked about Boyle. Boyle's showing it's been, making new lows. It's a little above the low right now, but again, potential short-term opportunities. Trading Boyle, long, natural gas, cold, short, natural gas. Also UNG is another way to play long natural gas. If you want to do oil, we use Gush and Drip. Gush is long, Drip is short. We're currently have a long-term position in Drip. and we're selling covered calls against that position. We also have a position in cold, KOLD, and we're selling covered calls. So actually we have positions in both boil and cold, so we're essentially neutral. Natural gas, and we're scalping covered calls on both sides, whichever way this guy's running. So we just sell them when one of them is going up, buy them back when it goes down. So again, if natural gas continues to be volatile, chop up and down, we'll continue to scalp covered calls on boil and cold. It looks like Easy Mike is doing something similar. So here's the Russell. So up on the Russell showing positive, although I think we looked at it and it's hugging its moving average just like the S&P, up on the S&P. So here's SOXS. Again, that shows attractive. There's also another short semiconductor. You could use SSG. It doesn't have quite the risk reward longer term, but it's actually showing more attractive shorter term. But it's a little bit farther away from support. I didn't see Tanavir. Tanavir tends to be our bond guy. So you can see TMF, TLT. Again, we expect bond yields to have to go up, prices to come down as the Fed rate hikes interest rates this week. I think Easy Mike likes to play the US dollar. I don't know if you use UDN. Again, I'm not, too hip on the risk reward. And the US dollar, none of them are showing terribly attractive. Vietnam, another Easy Mike call. He turned us on to Vietnam, VNAM, but it's a little bit farther away from support than I would like. And we talked about, we're long on volatility going into the interest rate hike. So again, we play volatility long using UVXY, short using SVXY. Again, we went long last week on UVXY. It has been declining, but again, when we hit the interest rate hikes, I think we're going to see at least a short burst in volatility. And so we're holding UVXY going into the interest rate decision, at least on Wednesday. If you're nimble and we get that pop in the VIX, and you can long with UVXY, and as soon as it rolls over, short it with SVXY. Again, if you're nimble, there's plenty of opportunities to make money just trading volatility with UVXY and SVXY. Another way to play is VXX. Again, I prefer UVXY. Just again, from a longer term risk reward profile, and also I believe it has a longer history than VXX, but it's another option that is showing attractive right now. So does anyone else have any other categories you'd like to look at in our ETF spreadsheet? Throw them up in the chat. We can take a look. SOXL. So yeah, here, Mike. Easy Mike's essentially hedging SOXS and SOXL. So again, you can do kind of pairs trade with these ETFs, and balance, how much long, how much short you are as the situation changes. Okay. So shopping list stocks, again, we always talk that you should have your shopping list of the stocks that you want to buy, given, an opportunity. When they become overly cheap, you get an irrational reaction to earnings, and be ready for the opportunity as it presents itself. Let me grab a drink. Okay, yesterday we looked at the January barometer, the January effect thus far. We're almost at the end of January. The January barometer is pointing positive for the year based on that historical indicator. So in general, we're looking for a positive year. Also, it's rare to have two negative years on the S&P on all the markets consecutively. So unless something happens, we expect the markets to eventually be positive this year given the data that we have. So you can listen to more detail about what is the January barometer, what's the basis, etc. But again, so longer term, even though we've been in a bear market, we're still probably in a bear market. Longer term, we're looking for a turnaround at some point. We'll just be waiting for that to occur. Again, we don't want to see anybody get hurt with this ongoing saga with the FTX bankruptcy, other crypto exchanges having bankruptcy issues, etc. Again, beware of zombie stocks, ETFs that can't pay their debt. Again, the definition of a zombie ETF you can see in that video. We still have high inflation. We're going to get an interest rate hike. We just don't know how much this week. So make sure your stocks are resilient to interest rate hikes and resilient to a recession. It's still, the jury's still out if and when we're going to end up back in a recession. The latest GDP data said fourth quarter we were not in a recession. The previous quarter said we were in a recession. So we'll see. So now I want to talk, and I'm trying to figure out where in this video or in our game plans options fit in best. So if anyone has some feedback, opinions as to where in these videos you would like to see us discuss option strategies, I'd again be open to your feedback and suggestions as to how you would prefer to see this. But for now, I've got under our trade ideas. We've been talking about this for several weeks, that we're evolving our option strategies. We've been, selling and buying back covered calls for quite a while. And then this year we started selling and buying back cash secured puts. So we're developing our strategy, our system on how to make money selling and buying back cash secured puts. Again, I'm using cash secured puts because most of my trading is a retirement account, so they have to be cash secured. If you want to sell them, trade them without the cash secured option, you can do that. And again, I'm finding this a good way to make money in choppy markets. So again, there's plenty of ways to make money in any market. Even if it's just going to chop around for a while, we can make good money. I'm working on series of videos on the options wheel strategy, continuing to research that, test various things in that area. We just released our first video on what is the options wheel strategy. I have more coming out that will explain this in more detail, and we'll talk about how we're using the options wheel strategy to make money as well. Again, we've been talking about, the probability that options are exercised early, and I'm asking for your feedback. We have a topic in the Discord, so if you have feedback on how often in your experience, your options have been exercised early, that would be helpful, as that feeds into this strategy. So again, talking and now we're focusing more on selling cash secured puts as an additional way to generate revenue. The negative is it does tie up your buying power during the duration of that cash secured put, and for that reason, as you'll see below, I've shortened the window for the expiration date on these cash secured puts to about 30 to 40 days out. Again, it must be cash secured in a retirement account, better than just having cash sit there. So again, I'm looking for other ways to make money deploying cash versus just having it sit there. And this is one option, as we'll talk about in a few minutes. Another option is dividend stocks. And I'm going to be working in more detail on those options for deploying capital and making money when there are not better trading opportunities as well. We sell cash secured puts when the stock's going down, which means the put price is increasing. We buy them back when the stock price is going up, which means the put price is decreasing, and then rinse and repeat. So, and again, collect the difference in premium as much as possible due to that choppy nature. So again, part of our criteria is we don't want crappy stocks or zombie stocks. We don't want to get stuck. If these puts do get exercised, we're going to end up owning that stock. And again, we don't want to get stuck with a stock that we don't want. I also have realized I don't want to try to sell a put against a stock that I would rather watch and just buy the shares. A good example recently is Disney. We had a cash secured put out there that had been purchased, and then Disney dipped down below where I would have bought the shares. So again, those stocks that are present a good setup or close to my target price, I don't want to sell puts on those. I'll just put them on the watch list and buy the shares. Strike price, I'm going to sell them for a strike price that's less than or equal to my target buy price. So again, somewhere, below where I wouldn't actually just buy it. 30 to 40 days to expiration based on input from the wheel strategy. That's a recommendation as to where the delta, where the price is optimal. Return on invested capital, I'll show you in our spreadsheet that we've developed, our Google sheet that we've developed, that I'm in the process that I'll show you as to how I'm identifying opportunities to sell puts, sell cash secured puts. I'm looking for at least a 5% or better return on invested capital. I have a calculation for the daily ROIC, daily return on invested capital. Tracking the stock price distance from the strike price, so how close is it? And I'm looking at a delta. Again, the recommendations I'm hearing is a delta less than 0.3, so there's less than a 30% chance that it will be in the money and therefore get exercised. So again, these are questions. So if anyone again has input as to how to fine tune some of these parameters for our strategy, I'd love to hear your input. So again, we've been developing. Last week we introduced this new Google sheet, the puts ROIC Google sheet. Our all access and VIP Patreons have 24/7 access to this Google sheet. It's under construction. I'll show you some enhancements that I've made to this, and we'll talk about them. So again, if you would like access to this outside of our weekly trading game plans, you can join our Patreon at the all access or VIP level. So you'll see I added a last, low, and high columns with the corresponding option prices. I added this to our automation. Certain columns in this are based on Google Finance functions, and others I've developed automation that automatically updates those columns at the end of the day. After market close, we run the automation and it will update the Google sheet. I also added highlighting for ROIC greater than 5, which we just discussed was my criteria. I also have a backup sheet with snapshots. I'll show you the research, which is when I identify a potential stock that I might want to sell cash secured puts on. I put in the research tab, and then we run the automation. It'll return the ROIC back. And then if it's something we want to put on a watch list, we'll move it to the watch list tab. But I'm keeping snapshots of ones we've analyzed in the past in a backup sheet, so you can see things we've analyzed in the past. But my automation doesn't run against the backup sheet any further, just on ones in the research tab. Also, I added a link to the option seller ROI tool. We're going to look at that and how I'm using that to identify potential opportunities at the top of the temp sheet, just to make it quicker and easier for me to access that tool. And I created a topic. I asked ChatGPT about how I could get options data directly in a Google Sheet. And you'll see that discussion in this thread in our Discord. Eventually, it told me Google functions, Google Finance functions don't support options data, but Yahoo Finance functions via an AP or via an add-on to a Google Sheet might be an option. So I started pursuing that. I couldn't solve it right away. So if anyone else has experience in this area, I'd love to have your feedback, your experience, for the benefit of all of our fellow BeachBum traders. Again, this is just ongoing thread of discussion in our Discord. And again, our Discord's free to join, so everyone can join in this discussion. Again, you'll see my dialogue with ChatGPT about how to get options data into a Google Sheet. So again, I'm looking for direct ways. And again, then you could build your own Google Sheet with this type of options ROIC, return on invested capital calculations. So now I'll jump over and we'll look at the spreadsheet. So again, now I've got additional tabs. Here's our primary watch list of these are the stocks that I'm looking at potentially selling cash secured puts on. The green highlighting is telling me that Disney was going down, which meant that the option price was increasing. So I might want to look at selling cash secured puts on Disney as of Friday. Everybody else was going up. So again, not attractive at this point in time. You can see a lot of these are all based on Google Finance functions. So again, they're, could be 20 minutes out of date. Everything in gray here is columns that I'm updating via my own automation. So I'm picking the support and resistance of the stock out of our database, determining the strike price again out of a table in my database. And then also I've got further automation that's identifying the last low, high, 52-week low and high price of the option. So I'm trying to figure out better ways to figure out how to price the option. Again, these tend to deteriorate over time as things get closer to expiration. So again, I'm trying to use this data to better price my option so that it's going to sell at an optimal price and I can buy it back again at an optimal price. So I'm trying to use this data again to help me determine how to more optimally price the option. So you can see all of these have a return on invested capital over 5%. Which is my goal. You can see the daily return on invested capital, the distance from the strike price, and how much, if it were a secured put, how much cash you would have to tie up to secure that put. Now you can see I have currently 3 out to sell on Amazon, Disney, and Generac. You'll see Generac's one we recently added. You'll see a number of these I recently added based on my research. They showed as opportunities. I did the research on them. They came back with an ROIC of over 5. So you see now I've got ARK-K. We talked about ARK-K. There's an opportunity there to sell puts against ARK that have a 5.6% ROI. Meta looks good. NVIDIA. TPR is Tapestry. It's a luxury goods company. And Tesla, it has a lot of return on selling puts. At one point, I think it was 7%. Now it's about 6%. But Tesla's run up quite a bit from where its previous bottom is. I may look at also what the ROIC is. We previously sold puts at 126 and made some money. So we may revisit comparing an opportunity at 126 with Tesla. So again, this is our watch list right now. So on Monday, I can watch this, and when things show up green, it's telling me the stock's going down. I might want to try to sell cash secured puts against additional symbols in this list, or adjust the prices. I also have alerts automation that tells me to how to adjust, that I should adjust the prices on the ones I already have sells on, or potentially enter a sell on a put for one of these other stocks, because it's again moving down, and it'll give me some hints based on this data as to what price I might want to enter that sell on. So the research tab are ones, and again, I'll show you in a second how I identified the ones to add on our research tab. But again, it has essentially the same data. It's not currently in my watch list, but it's ones that I've evaluated. And the reason they're not on the watch list is you'll see none of them have a 5% or better currently. But if they happen to pop up, turn green, that would tell me that now their return on invested capital is 5% or better. So then I might consider moving those up to our watch list. So you can see I have quite a few identified. CRM and Intel are currently showing as potential candidates. Their ROIC is not quite where I want yet, but we'll keep an eye on those. So to very quickly show you what my process is, and then we'll wrap up. Again, I'd love your feedback on if you find this spreadsheet for puts helpful, if you'd like to see further enhancements to it, etc., to this overall system for identifying opportunities with options with puts. And again, please put them in the comments to this video, in our Discord and our Facebook group, via social media, etc. You can find links to all those on our homepage. So under the links section on our homepage, beachbumtrading.com, bum without the U, find an invite to our Discord, links to our Facebook group, all of our social media, etc. So all different ways you can contact us with any questions, comments, feedback, recommendations for improvement. So just very quickly, again, I'm using this options seller ROI tool, and I put a link here on the temp spreadsheet. It's also in the tools on our homepage under links. So again, you can find it. There's the options seller ROI tool, again, on our homepage. All the tools we use, platforms, etc., is also in that link section. But if I put it there, I can click on this. I'm using this option seller tool to identify additional candidates. Right now, I'm typically doing this at the end of the day. So as I mentioned, I'm using a negative 0.3. So for a put, the delta goes from -1 to 0. So I entered that. Again, you can see right now I've got 45 max days to expiration. And then I'm scrolling down through these symbols to identify ones that have an ROI of greater than or equal to 5 that I might be interested in. And there's Snap. I don't know if I looked at Snap. There's some, if they're unprofitable, I don't want them. I don't want to end up owning them. Coin, I don't want. I love Unity's technology, but they're losing too much money. All of these other guys are losing money. Bill, Net, Twilio, I've looked at all of those. FTCH, you'll see, is in the research tab. So I ran FTCH, and at the time I looked at it, the ROIC was not what I wanted. So again, that's my process as I identify. I don't want Roku right now until they become profitable. Roblox, there's Tesla. You can see it's showing 5.6. And I did look at that ACCD, and it was not profitable. So again, this is my process now to identify ones to add to the research tab. I'm using this option seller tool. Once I identify one, I add it to the research tab, and then I run my automation, and it will calculate all of these data points for me and show me what the ROIC is based on, what strike price would I choose based on the support and resistance levels I have in my database. So again, that's my current process. I probably will do some additional videos on how all of this works, how you can use this puts ROIC spreadsheet. Again, if you would like to have access to the current version, it is under construction. I'm evolving this as quickly as I can to help me with my trading and hopefully help you with your trading and be successful and make money trading puts in particular in this case. You can join our all access or VIP Patreon levels, and it will grant you access to this spreadsheet as well as the ETF spreadsheet. So again, if anybody has any last minute questions, I can entertain that. Otherwise, please put your questions under the comments under this video. Again, in our Discord's free to join. I encourage and welcome, and hopefully you all will join our Discord. You can see we've got a great community of BeachBum traders helping each other out in the chat and the Discord. We also have a Facebook group, and you can always ask questions or contact us via social media via the links on our homepage under the links section. So again, let us know what you think of all of this. If you have any further questions, comments, recommendations for improvement, etc., we welcome all of that. And otherwise, again, we hope you have a great trading week. And thank you all for joining us. And good luck and have a great trading week. Bye.